Hi again, everyone. Thank you for the continued patronage. And I know I was going to say maybe some of you get sick of hearing that, but you probably don't. Who gets sick of gratitude? Although actually, yeah, I think it's possible to get sick of gratitude. Anyway, got another reaction vid for you guys. This is a 2011 BBC documentary interviewing X3 Para and some other units, exploring what Helmand, Musikala, what those places were like. Yeah, obviously, Musikala was in Helmand in 2006 and after. And this is requested by Coke again via the H-Hour Impact DAO. The only place you can request reaction videos is in the H-Hour Impact DAO. And other things. Earning points to spend on a variety of things that you can use to your own benefit, or you can use to get me to do things like Coke is doing now. So he says I'll probably recognize a lot of guys in this. One of them is Joe Scrivener, obviously who I interviewed recently, who I've known for years. And there are a bunch of questions he's put for me, or Coke has put for me, and a bunch of different points throughout this. They go up to about the 15-minute mark. The actual video is much longer than the video is an hour plus, I think. I'm only going to go up as far as the questions, and then I'll stop. So it's going to be it's not going to be an hour. If I try to do a reaction video on an hour-long video, it would turn into about 2 hours, obviously with me stopping and starting. So, without further ado, we will get going on. I hope you enjoyed the last one, actually, about Northern Ireland. Bloody Sunday. There's another Northern Ireland one coming up. Reaction vid coming up. But Ireland was such a long time ago. Bloody Sunday was such a long time. But no, Bloody Sunday happened before I was born. But anyway, if you haven't watched that one, watch that one. And enjoy this one. Let's get into it. All right. Oh, the link of this actual video, Afghanistan, the Battle of Helmand Province, is in the blurb of this, the description of this reaction vid.
We were massively stretched at the time, massively hard pushed.
We're meeting force for force, small arms, rockets, whatever.
He knew himself he was dying. He's one of the, if not the bravest bloke I've ever had the pleasure of working with.
We'd hit them again and again and again, and we killed 24 guys that day.
The battle for Helmand has cost thousands of Afghan and hundreds of British lives.
There are ghosts of them all over the place, and you never really forget them. You can't possibly forget them. I don't think a day goes by that I don't think of them.
We just had some incoming fire from that side of the...
I've been reporting from Afghanistan for more than 20 years. In this film, I'm going to look behind the headlines of Britain's bloody 5-year campaign in Helmand.
But did it really have to be this tough? Were the objectives set by the generals and politicians realistic?
The gap between policy making and its subsequent implementation was far too wide. We've muddled through.
This is the story of how Britain muddled from one plan to...
If you see me, well, you'll be seeing the timeline pop up. I'm just checking for the timestamps because I know there's timestamps next to the questions in the question that Coke has put in. So apologies if that is irritating. In fact, you won't see it because I'm going to crop out that bit of the screen. Ignore what I just said.
Another.
Yes, it was a stretch. Yes, it was a risk. But hey, we're paratroopers. We're British soldiers. That's what we do.
The story of how the nation was not prepared to pay the price for success.
I asked on a daily, weekly basis for more troops, more helicopters.
We could not.
So the two people you've just seen there, the first one with the grey hair was Stuart Tootle, Colonel Stuart Tootle, who was the CO3 power during in 2006. I am sure Stuart was in Bloody Sunday. Was at Bloody Sunday. I'm sure he was. No, I'm talking nonsense. He's too young. Pretty sure. And then the second guy is Ed Butler, who was the Brigadier, 16 Air Assault Brigade Brigadier, of which 3 power are part, and the 3 power battle group which went to Afghanistan, Helmand, were formed predominantly from 16 Air Assault Brigade.
Cede pieces of ground to the insurgent the way we had done there. The British force in Helmand was under-resourced, make no mistake.
But most of all, it's the story of those who had to face the consequences of a war that others had not thought through.
Roughly 100 men holding a defensive position in the most hostile town, in the most hostile country in the world.
Came in via Chinooks, some pretty sort of intense manoeuvring, which was quite good. We debussed off the Chinook, and it was then we came under contact.
I know a lot of these guys. That's Charlie Kerner, great guy.
Helmand, the summer of 2006.
As I'm pausing it, the guy running up the stairs on screen, he was a good friend of mine, Andy Key. That footage right now is in Sangin, DC. Okay, the first question from Coke is, what does it feel like to be under fire and in a firefight? It's a difficult question to answer. It depends on who you are. Depends on the type of firefight you're in. In fact, it's 2 different things to this. So, what does it feel like to be under fire stroke in a firefight? Under fire is a lot easier to handle if you're firing back. And obviously, if you're firing back, there's a firefight, right? I think when it comes to feelings, what does it feel like? There are a lot of feelings flying around when you are actually involved in this, involved in a contact, as we would call it, in a firefight, because all of your conscious ability, all of your brain power is going on decision making and action taking to do what you need to do to win the firefight or to do whatever action is going to be taken in the event of the attack, if you're being attacked or vice versa. So it's a lot of logical, process-driven thought. I don't mean process-driven in terms of blindly following when this happens, when A happens, do B, when B happens, do C. I don't mean that. I mean that it's decision making and action taking mainly. So your brain power's on that. It's in the same way that when someone's life is threatened, let's ignore the military for a minute. If someone's life is threatened and you're in a situation where your life is being threatened and the situation is happening very fast, don't have time for emotion. The feelings come later on when you reflect, when you have time to reflect on it, when you've got a bit of breathing space. When time is of the essence, basically.
16 Air Assault Brigade is in action.
The intensity of the fighting took us by surprise, not least because the intelligence told us that there wouldn't be Taliban when we arrived.
We took a major weight of fire. Being my first experience, I thought it was a lot of fire. They were throwing grenades over the wall which were landing within metres of us. It was an absolute miracle, not one of us even got hit.
Heavy firepower was often needed to support the troops.
Get out! Get out, boys!
We was in a compound with a small archway which was no more than 3 feet high, and now there was fire coming through the archway. We were sending fire back through.
At my command!
And Commander said, if you haven't got a wife or children, follow me. And
sorry, yeah. So, question here from Coke at this point is, what's your funniest memory while in combat? And there's a follow-up to that, which is, how often was Hugh used when in deployments? Was it used more in kinetic tours, or as in tours where we took more casualties? Funniest memory. I've been asked this before, and in fact, I've been asked something like, describe a funny time in the military. I find it hard to remember, like, funny times to go. There were abundance, but in our operation, funny. I mean, okay, there's two moments I remember, like, laughing in the face of combat, should we say? One, I've described this before, was kind of a moment of elation after a number of us, and I mean dozens of us, had experienced our first combat, our first engagement with the enemy early on in this tour, in an area called Nauzad, and I won't go through the story again of this one. But there was a firefight, prolonged firefight. It finished, and then afterwards there was kind of a silence that, where we sort of waited. We call it a soak period when the fighting stops. We call it a soak period, and you wait to see if anything's happening. If there's a reason it stopped. If it isn't obviously clear that you've killed the enemy, could they be trying to flank? Could they be trying to do something else? Is there something going on? You wait and you wait, and then very cautiously you realize, you come to the conclusion that is it. That is our battle over. And at that moment, everyone started burst out laughing, kind of wow, holy shit, that's what it's like. Dozens of us all laugh at the same time. And there was a second time where I was with my team in, what year was this? Oh, 2006. I was actually just outside the town of Musakala before we ran. It was a week or so before, on a battle group op to move some people in and out of the town. Huge operation to do a very little change, but it was so dangerous then. And just kind of long story short, my team, small team, and myself plus 4, they're my team. We got ambushed by the Taliban. And this is as we were withdrawing, so the operation's closing down, and so we were moving out of the area. And it's like a very orchestrated, phased move, and we ended up in a position through no fault of our own. It was because of a bit of a move by another unit who was covering us. As in providing fire support for my team from afar. We were very far forward, hidden. We were very far forward of the rest of the British troops, and we were hidden on the edge of the wadi. They're doing sniper stuff, and where we started withdrawing, there became a situation where our mutual support of another unit, sort of looking out for us as we were moving back. We were unaware that they'd moved already. We got ambushed. Luckily, it was a very precarious. Luckily, we survived. Obviously, we survived. Obviously, I survived. We all got away from it unscathed. But it was a very, very precarious situation. We were very lucky. Anyway, it happened in a marijuana field. Is where we went through when we got ambushed. The marijuana has got nothing to do with it. With the fact we got ambushed. It just happened to be where we were. And after that, when we got out of that one, there was some laughter after that. It was a little bit surreal, but also because it had been so close. That it was a kind of a moment of elation that we got away with it, but then shortly after I became very angry. Yeah, with the realization of why it happened. Okay.
Looking back, it's just a funny thing. To move a step further would have been suicidal. We literally dived on the floor and crawled back through the hole.
They usually found themselves overstretched and outnumbered.
We didn't want to retreat, so we carried on fighting. And in the end, a couple of Apaches came and an A-10 Thunderbolt.
So, Coke is asking you, how much harder would the tours have been without air power? Yeah, I think it would have been a lot harder. I think casualties would have probably been higher. The casualties would have definitely been higher. The air power is a good deterrent against an enemy which doesn't have any kind of air power whatsoever, and very little ability to defend against or try and take down air assets. So yeah, it would have been a lot harder without air power.
That pretty much obliterated what was left of the enemy, and we were able in the end to withdraw in absolute silence under no enemy contact.
The primary mission was meant to be reconstruction. So how did Britain end up at war? Things.
Okay, another question. What do you think of reconstruction being called the primary mission? And how much reconstruction was done in your tours and in general? Okay. What reconstruction was the primary mission, or setting the ground, so enabling an environment, a secure, safe environment for reconstruction to take place. So it was the primary mission when we went there, and it remained the primary mission while we were there. To enable reconstruction to start. Reconstruction? Yeah, reconstruction. It's just not the greatest term for it. What do I think about that? Nothing. I can't think about it. That was the intent, apparently. So, yeah. How much reconstruction was done in your tours and in general? Yeah, that's hard to say because the biggest sort of reconstruction effort that took place on the tours on the tours that I did was the delivery of a replacement turbine for the hydroelectric dam in Kajaki. And that was in 2008. A huge operation. The reason being is that the turbine is just this unbelievably big bit of kit. You can't break it down into smaller parts and transport it easily or bring it in by air. It has to be moved by road. And in fact, when it was brought into Afghanistan, it was brought in, as I recall, it was brought into Afghanistan an Antonov aircraft, which is, to my knowledge, the largest, or was at that point the world's largest the world's largest transport aircraft. And when they first were able to place it in there, I believe it broke, if it was Antonov, it damaged the floor because it was so heavy. I think that may be nonsense, but anyway. So yeah, that turbine ultimately didn't even get installed. I don't think it got installed. We got it to Kajaki. I actually wasn't on that operation. We're very early on that tour, and I wasn't on that operation. It was a huge op. But they got it to Kajaki and never got installed. I have to look online to see if it ever got installed ever. But yeah.
It looked very different when going to Afghanistan was first considered.
If you look at the situation at the end of 2004, when the decision to deploy Southeast was taken, things were pretty good. There was virtually no violence in Helmand.
Okay, so another question here. How good was this general? No idea. I couldn't tell you. The capability of the generals at the top is largely unknown by troops on the ground, as in, at our level. Because we don't work with them, we don't, all we know is it's like, I don't know how to analogize it. Yeah, I couldn't tell you. Like, his day-to-day decision making. It's not like looking at the prime minister or looking at a CEO and being completely in touch with every sort of decision they make. Not that you are the CEO, for example, but you know a lot of the decisions that affect the organization. It's not the case especially on an operation. If you try and communicate every single thing down to the lower levels, then mission critical communications would get missed or would be compromised. I mean, compromising. Yeah, they're more important. Mission critical are more important than communicating, so lesser important, but still strategic. Aims, intent, information, communications changes by the general. How conscious were troops of the senior military leaders in Afghanistan and their strategies? Or did you guys not know or care about the big picture? No, we knew about in general, we knew about the strategies, the bigger picture per se. It's really important. It's really important to be able to contextualize why you're giving a particular order or a particular mission or taking part in a particular operation to troops so they can understand the why. This is what we're doing. Here's why. It has to be part of the bigger picture. Otherwise, if you don't understand the why, then it becomes what's the fucking point? You want your troops, you want your people to understand why they're taking part. So why they're taking part in something that's not just important for having a willingness to want to complete whatever it is they need to complete mission wise, but it's also important for if people need to step above their current level of responsibility. It means that when you step up 1, 2, sometimes even 3 levels to assume a command or a more senior role because of battlefield casualties, for example, attrition, you already understand the bigger picture, and so it can help you make better decisions in that already high pressure, difficult situation that you're in, having to step up 1 or 2 levels above with your current undertaking, if that makes sense.
By then, Britain had been at war in Iraq for more than 18 months. The public didn't like it, and when the government suggested sending even more troops to Iraq, the generals pushed their own alternative.
What I can say, remembering conversations with those people at the time, is that they defined this mission in opposition to Iraq. They saw this place, by contrast, as a chance to involve those forces in a different, new and exciting mission.
Who are the best senior leaders in Afghanistan, Iraq? That's the question here. A difficult question. One leader sticks in my mind. I just remember having a respect for him. And that will just be through third-hand information. That was Petraeus, General Petraeus, the US general. The other one, the British one, which the parachute regiment loved, was General Sir Mike Jackson, no longer with us. Who was himself ex-Parage. I think when I was talking about Stuart Tootle earlier, being in Bloody Sunday, I think it was actually Mike Jackson who was there. Although I'm just going to go and quickly Google it. Hang on a minute. Stuart Tootle, Bloody Sunday. Sorry to detract from this a minute. It was bugging me. No, it's not that. I don't think he was. Anyway, yeah, so Mike Jackson in the UK. I actually met him more than once, I think. Yeah. A very capable, inspiring individual. Okay, where are we? 622.
Generals got their way. The British government announced a mission to develop Helmand, saying it would only fight if it absolutely had to.
We would be perfectly happy to leave in 3 years' time without firing one shot, because our mission is to protect the reconstruction.
I'm laughing because that line by John Reed is infamous. Infamous. Nonsense. Yeah. Yeah.
In one of the poorest parts of the world, people could certainly use the help, and it was hoped the Afghans would welcome it.
I think there was a naivety, in some ways on a sort of corporate level, that people felt that we were going to go into Afghanistan and hand out bread and milk and deliver development and reconstruction.
Brigadier Butler had already commanded the Special Air Service in Afghanistan and would now lead the 1st Brigade into Helmand. He points to intelligence failures.
In some, we said there was simply insufficient information to develop a long-term strategy for Afghanistan based on the knowledge which we had in 2005.
Helmand Province, 23,000 square miles of mountains, desert and farmland. It's half the size of England. The province was well known only for opium poppies, supplying 40% of the world's heroin.
There was a whole series of people who just simply did not want us there. The warlords from a former regime, the narco-criminals who were making hundreds of millions of pounds out of the opiate industry, and then the Taliban themselves. So those three very powerful groups were always going to react to our presence.
So in April 2006, the initial elements of 16 Air Assault Brigade began arriving here at Camp Tombstone.
I know that guy, but this is all 06 footage, by the looks of it.
Which at the time was a rather lonely outpost of the US Special Forces in the desert in Helmand Province.
For the first couple of months we were patrolling in soft hats, fairly sort of unaggressive posture, and the real aim was just to get in to the local town, surrounding areas.
Highly respected officer within the parachute regiment. I went on to command the OC of the Red Devil, actually, the free-fall team. But before that, he was, became a very accomplished, very experienced officer on the ground in Afghanistan and elsewhere.
Speak to the locals and identify tasks that could be fulfilled by aid agencies, NGOs for reconstruction.
Of the nearly 3,800 personnel first sent, The majority were engineers and support troops. They were there to build the Camp Bastion base and develop the main centres, Lashkar-Gah and Gireshk.
Only about a quarter of the people who went out on that initial deployment were the 3-para battle group, the combat infantry. But very soon after they'd got here, they realised they were walking into a maelstrom.
The trouble started in the northern valleys, volatile opium country, where armed groups of the drug lords, insurgents and tribesmen went on the offensive.
These attacks in Nowzad, Musikala and Sangin were challenging our very authority and reason for being there.
The paras started to fight back, but that exposed the reality that Butler faced competing missions, fighting the insurgents versus bolstering the Afghan government through good deeds. By mid-June, the crisis had focused at a place where opium trading, insurgency, and hatred of outsiders came together in their most violent form. The northern district, Sangin. Tribesmen killed dozens of the district governor's supporters and the police. And so Helmand's governor demanded the British do something.
Their mission was to maintain security in Helmand. If they were not deploying their troops to those districts to the north, we may have lost those districts.
Both he and President Karzai said, if you're not prepared to fight, and if you're not prepared to protect our flag and protect our people, why are you here?
Both a pair of crooks, it needs to be pointed out. Mahmoud, the governor of Helmand, a total crook, and Karzai was the same. Not clean politicians, if there are any, and were very sympathetic towards Taliban, which is the reality. I'm pretty sure Dowd's brother was a senior Taliban commander, if I remember correctly. Karzai also had links. This is Afghanistan now, and this is politics.
The British now faced a critical decision. Keeping the Afghan government flag flying meant defending Sangin with British troops.
Everyone was involved, from me to my brigade commander to especially the Afghan governor at the time, and certainly the UK government.
Implementing the decision to act rested with Colonel Tootle.
Okay, question here from Code. I've described, as in I practically described Tootle as a gifted officer who saved lives. I don't think I've used those words, but highly respected, capable officer, I would say. Generally, are parachute regiment officers exceptional in combat? I think they're more likely to be exceptional in combat compared to those officers who don't go to the parachute regiment. And I'm talking here about officers who go through the Royal Military Academy Sandhurst. They select the parachute regiment as their first choice of regiment, so they have to select, I think, 2, maybe even 3. They select the parachute regiment as their first choice of regiment, and because of that, they go through a harder process throughout Sandhurst. Their assessment process is harder. Their interview process is harder than other units, other infantry units, than other officers who haven't nominated the parachute regiment as their first choice, and that that process is this for the same reason that so for parachute regiment, so for recruits who want to join the parachute regiment, this is not officers. This is just people who are going to join. Just people who are going to join to private, like I was when I joined. They walk into a careers office and they say, "I want to join the paras." Then the aptitude test that they undertake is scored, and I think it's still the same now. It was when I joined, and depending on how high your score is on the aptitude test, this is literally in a recruitment center. On the aptitude test, that basically dictates what options will be available to join and not. And so the lower the score you get, the less options there are, and the higher the score you get, the more options you are. And to join the parachute regiment, that is one of the units that requires in terms of infantry units, that the parachute regiment requires a higher aptitude score. So cognitive, mental ability, you have to have a higher mental ability to even be allowed to apply to join the paras than other infantry units. And the same goes for trades. So if you want to become an engineer, obviously you're going to need to have a higher. They're going to want to see you have a higher mental capacity than bog standard infantry. So going back to the question, generally are parachute regiment officers exceptional in combat? I say they're more likely to be exceptional in combat compared to other officers who haven't gone through the same process. That is the additional Sandhurst scrutiny, because they want to join the parachute regiment. And then P Company. Officers have to do P Company too and pass that. Yeah. Would it be better if officers go through training run by Para-Reg NCOs similar to Depot instead of their current selection? Well, I don't know on that one. Possibly. Is it actually possibly? Yeah, it's possible. So Sandhurst, the instructors of Sandhurst, the majority of the instructors at Sandhurst are senior NCOs. They're obviously officers or instructors, and they take command positions in the training teams there. But the majority of the instructors are senior NCOs, and they're a parachute regiment instructors. They just aren't a lot. You tend to only have one or two down there. It's never been a popular place that parachute regiment soldiers want to go to as a posting, as an external posting outside of the battalions. But it's not very war-rich. Most parachute regiment soldiers who need to undertake an external posting for whatever reason will tend to either go to a parachute regiment depot training where they will train other paratroopers, or they'll want to go to Brecon and instruct on the platoon commander's battle course there, or the platoon sergeant's battle course, or the section commander's battle course, because it's the bread and butter warfighting training, as opposed to what Sandhurst is, which it's got a lot of that, but there's also a lot of it which is just a bit mundane, because officers need to be trained differently to soldiers, basically. Anyway.
Although we never really had the resources to do it in the way that I would have wanted to, then the logic was sound, and we've been asked to do something.
After 20 minutes of deliberation, he agreed to do it.
Yes, it was a stretch, yes, it was a risk, but hey, we're paratroopers, we're British soldiers, that's what we do, and that's exactly what we do.
They were equipped only for a brief mission north.
Our kit was packed for exactly that, 3 to 4 days. Really, really minimal stuff.
As soon as they arrived, they tried to fortify the local government HQ, or district centre.
We were filling cardboard boxes with rubble and building up defensive, just basically out of anything you could.
Filling up 24-hour ration boxes, and we just made do with what was there, which wasn't a lot.
What do you want us firing into?
It started off maybe a couple of times a day, and then it sort of increased to, 7-8 times a day, into the night as well.
It was just constant contacts of 3, 4, 5 times a day they were trying to hit us, either by small arms, rockets or mortars. We had a couple of times when they literally tried to storm the place.
They had the idea they were going to try and take the camp, which was never going to happen.
It was just pretty much a shootout.
So yeah, they learned a harsh lesson that night. We're meeting force for force, so if they come at us with small arms, rockets, whatever, we'll meet them with that. But we're better.
Fired a rocket killing a couple of guys from the signals unit and an Afghani interpreter. These were the first casualties. It sort of hit home to everyone. It isn't a joke, this is real.
They were cut off in the Sangin district centre.
There's a building with a prominent double door, red door. Yeah. To the left of that, you've got an open doorway. Yeah, a little single doorway in there.
The deal was that we would go there for 96 hours. We actually spent a total of 95 days there, fighting every day.
Being besieged in Sangin was bad enough, but Colonel Tootle's remaining combat troops were also sent to garrison other northern centres.
Okay, so question we need done here, by the way. Question here from Coke: to what extent did Tootle and senior officers like him get involved in a firefight, and to what extent should they get involved in firefights? To what extent they should, they shouldn't. They shouldn't. It can happen occasionally. No plan survives contact. And obviously, there's a very famous. There's a couple of very famous examples of commanding officers, as in battalion commanding officers getting killed. There was one killed in Afghanistan, Welsh Guards, or Royal Welsh. And there was Colonel Hugh Jones was killed in 1982 in the Falklands. So Tootle, to what extent did Tootle and senior officers like him get involved in firefights? On this talk, Toots may have been involved in one, maybe. I don't know. If he wouldn't want to get involved in one because he's leading the whole thing. He needs to be planning, strategizing, directing, as opposed to doing the actual fighting.
Now Zad and Musa Kala. Having established what was soon called platoon houses across a broad expanse of the province, the British realised how hard it would be to defend them all.
We was pretty much surrounded by the Taliban at the time, so we was running low on water, we was running low on food, so we pretty much had to ration everything, including ammunition.
Got one more question here from Coke, and then we're going to close it off. That's Paul McMillan, Spud McMillan. For those of you who've seen the film Kajaki, Spud was there on that day, and who plays him? The actor who plays him is Ali Cook. That's Spud from that actual day. Good guy. All right, correct. The last question I'll answer here from Coke is: to what extent did you go hungry in your tours? Did you lose weight? Constantly hungry. Always hungry. Always hungry. This tour particularly. Did you lose weight? Yeah. Lost weight, lost fat, lost muscle mass. You're very rarely getting almost never getting the calories in you need. And and the physical, and the mental effort and drain. Just yeah, there aren't many people who don't lose weight on this. If you're a fighting troop, you're not rear echelon, you're not some kind of support in some kind of supporting role, then yeah, you're gonna lose weight. This video, so we're 15 minutes in here. It's an hour long. It looks quite good. I've not seen this before. I'm gonna carry on watching this after I've stopped this video now. But yeah, put your reaction videos in, reaction requests in. Make sure you join the DAO. And to get these requests in, I keep saying it, you're mental if you don't. As a patron, you're mental if you don't. Loads of benefits of doing it. You're literally missing out on benefits here. And I don't mean benefits like access to secret content or whatever. I mean like benefits so you can put cash in your pocket or get free stuff or get me to do stuff. Sounds dodgy. The link to do that is in the description here. It's the link to the H-Hour DAO onboarding in Discord. Anyway, thank you for the reaction vid request, Culp, again. I hope you enjoy this. And I'll catch you on the next one. The next one is Tony Blair, I think. Tony Blair, I think the next one's Tony Blair. Let me have a quick look. Yeah, the next one is a video about the UK government perspective of going to war in Iraq, which will be interesting. Yeah, okay, cool. Thank you, everybody. Merry Christmas.